Hi, I'm the Godless Engineer, and tonight on Did Jesus Exist, we're going to be examining some contemporary fan fiction of Jesus and his disciples. But before I get into that, I would like to say that tonight's episode is factually supported by Bart Ehrman's book, The Gospel of Judas Iscariot. I would really implore you to go out and look it up, get it, and read it. It is a very interesting read about the finding and the contents of the Gospel of Judas, and what some Christians were believing at the time. The purpose of tonight's video is to really just build a case for reasonable doubt that the Gospels were written in a factual manner and that people just weren't making shit up as they go. That's what I'm hoping to really build here by mentioning just a couple stories. And I know that later on I will get into more stories that aren't considered to be, factually based in the Christian dogma, and were actually criticized by early church fathers as well as on into the Middle Ages. But tonight we're going to be discussing two stories in particular. The first one is a backstory to Judas, and then another one is a strange story about Mary and Jesus. First up, we want to talk about this backstory of Judas, one particular backstory of Judas. But in order to do that, we must first learn the tale of another person. It's actually a mythical tale, a Greek tragedy of Oedipus. The story of Oedipus is a Greek tragedy by Sophocles. Together with Oedipus, Colonus, and Antigone, it completes the set of 3 Theban plays that he wrote. Oedipus was a tragic hero of the play Oedipus the King. To start off chronologically, when Oedipus was born, his mother, Jocasta, had him disposed of due to a prophecy that he would kill his father, King Laius. So, being a good mother and shit, she had a servant expose him to the harsh environment so that he would perish and thus never be able to kill the king. Well, that went pretty fucking well when the servant couldn't kill the child like a heartless bitch, so he gave the child to a servant of another king, the king of Corinth. That servant then notified the queen, who decided to keep the child for herself. Now, fast forward some years later, and during a meal, a man drunkenly claims that Oedipus wasn't the king's son. So, off to the Oracle of Delphi to figure this shit out. Instead of being straightforward with the fucking answers, the Oracle gives him a cryptic message of killing his father and then fucking his mom, thus becoming the first motherfucker. He flees Delphi and is on the road to Thebes because he still thinks that he is the son of the king of Corinth and he doesn't want to kill his daddy and subsequently fuck his mom. On the road to Thebes, he is attacked by a band of men and ends up killing most of them except for one. This turns out to be a bad fucking move, as we'll come to find out. He eventually becomes king of Thebes by marrying the queen, who was widow at the time. A priest and some Thebians came to him one day about a plague that had been fucking them up bad, and it was because the killer of the previous king remained uncaught. Oedipus, being a badass king, was determined to find the killer and end the plague for his minions. Through a series of partial facts dispersed by various people, including a blind prophet, he comes to find out that he was not the biological son of the king of Corinth, but instead he was the son of Laius and Jocasta. Upon hearing this, he cut out his eyes after his wife-mother hanged herself in their bedroom. Pretty fucked up, huh? Now, you may be asking yourself, what the fuck does this have to do with Judas? Well, during the Middle Ages, there was a book called the Golden Legend, which many at the time loved to pull info about the apostles and later saints from. This book was composed by a Dominican monk by the name of Eusebius of Origen in 1265 CE. Contained within this book was a set of legends about Judas Iscariot. One of these legends perfectly copies the tale of Oedipus the King. In this tale, Judas was born to Jewish parents in Jerusalem, and even before Judas was born, his mother had a dream that he would bring suffering upon their people. His parents decided to expose him to the elements and leave him to die by casting him adrift in a basket at sea, which seems to be a common theme. Despite this, little Judas survives and is taken in by the Queen of Iscariot as her own child. Sometime after having a biological child of her own, her adopted son Judas learns of him being adopted. He subsequently kills his brother, another common theme it seems, and flees to Jerusalem. Judas soon comes to serve Pilate, and one day Pilate has him go and retrieve some fruit from the neighbor's place. Reuben, the next door neighbor, confronts Judas and is killed by him too. As a reward for, killing Reuben and getting the fruit and everything, Pilate gives Judas all of Reuben's property, to include Reuben's wife. Because, in biblical times, women were fucking property. Do you get what I'm saying with that? They were property. Now, his newly acquired wife is overcome with grief at one point and confesses to Judas about, what they did to their first child. Now, this gets the gears a-twerking inside Judas's head, and he connects the two with knowing that, he was adopted by the Queen of Iscariot, and then she set him off to drift towards the island of Iscariot. He concluded that he was the son of this woman. And so, therefore, he has, basically killed his father and started fucking his mom. Now, he is overcome by guilt. And so, what does he do? He runs to Jesus and begs for forgiveness. As fucked up as this story gets, with it being plagiarized from a Greek tragedy and Judas playing out the tragic hero of the story, this next tale about Jesus and Mary Magdalene might make you gag a little bit. Now, there are often times when we find citations or quotes from early church fathers that we don't actually have physical documents for. This is the case of this particular tale. We have it being referenced in some early church father criticisms of heretics. And it's quoted and cited, so that's how we know that it either existed or people were making shit up. Bart Ehrman basically says that these are the two options that you have whenever you find a quote or a citation about a particular gospel that doesn't match anything that we have on hand. It's either people have made shit up because they don't know what's in it, or there was another piece of work floating around at the time of the same name. Like I said before, this is the exact case of this Gospel of Mary Magdalene. Epiphanius wrote an 80-chapter book about Christian heretics and the Gospels that they were known to pull their teachings from. This included one particularly interesting Gospel about Jesus and Mary Magdalene. In this gospel, Jesus takes Mary up onto a mountain where he proceeds to pull a woman out of his side, like in the creation story with Adam. He then fucks this rib woman right in front of Mary. When Jesus begins to explode inside his newly formed rib woman that he pretty much just raped right in front of Mary, he pulls out of her and eats his own jizz. Then he very seriously just turns, looks at Mary, and says, "This must we do that we may live." Mary subsequently just completely passes the fuck out. I must say, it kind of isn't really wise to do that after Jesus pretty much just created a woman and raped her right in front of her. Jesus fucking Christ, right? This particular gospel hasn't actually been found, as I mentioned before. It's only referenced in this work on heretics and basically lambasting them for what they teach. These are but two instances of fan fictions that were floating around in the early days of the Christian church. And as you can tell, this happened well into the Middle Ages of making shit up and purporting it to be actual, factual accounts of Jesus and his life. So much so that early church fathers felt the need to write 80-chapter books dismissing the shit. So it really shouldn't surprise you that people would make shit up to suit their own needs, whether it be to create some kind of weird ass backstory that is just pretty much blatantly copied from a Greek tragedy, or as a reason to make all of your male persons in your congregation eat their own cum after they fuck a woman. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Did Jesus Exist? And I hope you will join me next time when we go over some more evidence that he did not exist. Don't forget to go down below and like and comment. I would love to hear your thoughts on these pretty weird-ass stories. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can be notified whenever I do post another Did Jesus Exist video. Hopefully it will be next Monday. Sometimes shit doesn't work out though. So, as always, don't forget to